From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello. Welcome to the Badass Counseling Show. It is great to have you here. You are joining us for a lightning round Q&A session on this beautiful Sunday, and we are live in studio. I am live presently on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Whether you are checking in from Florida or South Dakota or North Dakota, or joining us from Montana or up in Ontario, perhaps you are down under in Australia or New Zealand, it is wonderful to have you here joining us in studio. I have my team. I have KC over in the booth, and I have Rob the Rocket sitting next to me. Rob, what do you have to say today?
Sometimes I feel like we should explain that we are, at the moment, live on all these platforms, but we're recording this for the podcast, which will happen later. So if you're listening to the podcast, you cannot write in. Just want to make that clear.
Correct.
And Captain Obvious, that's me.
It's not always obvious, and that is good that you pointed that out. Excellent. Good man. All right, so recognizing all of that, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. First question is from Devil Blues on TikTok. Says, hi, Sven. Why do people want to mend relationships when it is far too late, past the expiration date? Well, there can be any number of reasons. I know in my case, when I wanted to mend a relationship after it was too late, is because I didn't think it was too late. I didn't want to believe it was too late. I wanted to believe it was still possible. And what's fascinating is, if you are ending a relationship and you do not close the door completely to it ever happening again, to it ever being reignited, if you don't close that door completely, you are only fanning the flame in the other person that it could be reignited. So when you're trying to be all nice and you don't want to look like the bad guy, or you don't want to hurt their feelings, and you're maybe slow walking out of the relationship, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. It's going to be a pain in the ass for you. And I am just betting, Devil Blues, that you are asking the question, why do people want to mend a relationship when it's far too late, past the expiration date? It's because you have somebody wanting to mend a relationship with you, and you're like, fuck, get away from me. I love you and everything. I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't want a fucking relationship with you. It sucks for you. And all I'm saying is, for people who aren't fully closing that door, you're making it worse. Now, that other person may still think they have a shot of mending it, but you leaving the door open, and I'm not saying this is what you did, Devil Blues, but if you are leaving the door open or saying, oh, we can be friends, or maybe someday in the future we'll reignite it, you're just creating pain in the ass for yourself. The other reason, or another reason, that people try to mend a relationship past the expiration date is because they believe it never actually ended. They believe that the relationship is still going on. But somewhere inside of them, whatever that sort of surface reason is, somewhere inside of them, they believe that they have access to you. They have the right to, or they're at least going to try. And so in a way, it doesn't matter why. This is what it boils down to. It doesn't matter why they think they can, why they're doing it. Ultimately, all that matters is, are you going to shut it down or not? And you have to keep shutting it down again and again and again. And it's just like, you guys have heard me use this analogy before on a million other things. It's just like training a puppy. All right? If you don't carry that puppy outside every time it starts going piddle in the house, guess what? It's going to get mixed messages. And that means it's going to keep going piddle in the house, because some of those times it thinks it's okay to go piddle in the house. Right? So you're going to have to shut it down. It doesn't matter why they're doing it. You just have to keep shutting it down. And the mere fact that you're asking the question, well, why are they doing this, says that it's frustrating for you, and it sucks and having to deal with it. Yes, it does, but you got to do it anyway. All right, next question. Steffi then follows up with this question, and this is dear Steffi in Nebraska, a good friend of the show. Why do we have to be mean for them to finally get it, though? That's a great question, Steffi. I'm reminded of a great line from one of my all-time favorite TV shows, Downton Abbey. I am a sucker for period movies, period TV shows, especially British ones and French ones, but especially the British ones, right? And there was a line in there where one of the gentlemen, a very well-heeled man, turns to another gentleman who is acting in a particular way. And the very well-heeled gentleman says to him, please don't make me be rude. In other words, this guy was pushing and pushing till the point where the gentleman finally had to say, dude, you're fucking pushing me. You need to back the fuck off or I'm going to have to be rude. The simple fact of the matter is, Steffi, when you say, why do we have to be mean for them to finally get it though? Because that is fundamentally, if you want to know the real fucking truth, one, sometimes in the words of an old friend of mine, queer as a $3 bill, love him to death. We were best friends for years and years and years. He said, unfortunately, sometimes a bully has to be punched in the nose. Why do you have to be rude? Because this person believes they can bully their way back into your life. They believe that they can bully their way to get you to do what they want and be what they want. But ultimately, in the journey of the self to the soul, do you want to know what the real fucking answer is? The real fucking answer of why do we have to be mean though is because your soul is testing you. How badly do you want to be you? How fucking important are you to you? Are you important enough to you to stand up no matter what? To stand up and not fucking be bullied? To stand up and metaphorically punch a bully in the nose? Metaphorically. Yes, unfortunately in life, we have to stand up and say, God damn it, no. No. Now back the fuck off. We have a member of Community Plus, which is our support and growth group for those who want more access to me. All right. It's through our website. Comes with a fee every month, but it's those who want monthly access to me, right? Multiple times a month and much more personalized and so forth. And this particular person had to get a restraining order against an ex-husband. And it was a gutsy, ballsy move. And this person was trying to get along and they share kids together. And this person was trying to get along, trying to work together. And finally, this person had to get a restraining order. She didn't want to do it, but it's like fucking hell. Sometimes in life, you got to say no. And your soul is testing you. Are you going to do what is right for us? Because the way this person is acting towards us, this is disrespectful of us. That's your soul talking to you. All right. Next question.
If you want to put on your former pastor hat, I have one here.
I do want to put that hat on. Let's put it on, Rob. Let's get it on.
All right then, Sven. That's right. A little sexual healing too. Right. At Two Soul Search says, you mentioned in your Love Cup book that when you live in fear, you aren't living in harmony with God. I had such an epiphany. That's why when people do amazing things, they always thank God first. Now I know why I struggle with a relationship with God.
Right. And just to clear things up briefly, for those who are atheists or agnostics or whatever, I'm not selling any particular type of theology here, all right? I'm a former clergyman. That's just one language that I am fluent in and I don't mind talking about and so forth. But in using the God language, yes, that the fears that you have, living in fear is what disconnects us from our authentic self. And as I talk about in my book, that for those to use God language or to use non-God language, at the essence of who we are, our own voice becomes indistinguishable from the voice of the universe, from the voice of God, from the voice of soul. They're indistinguishable. So if I'm living in fear, I'm not being who I am at my essence, at my source. I am not living my God voice. It is to be disconnected from that because I'm afraid of what people will think, or I'm afraid that this won't work out, or I'm afraid of this or that or whatever. But when I'm living from my essence, when I'm living from my soul, when I'm feeling what feels right for me to do with my life or to pursue or what have you, even though those fears come up, I choose the path anyway, trusting that no matter what happens, I will be okay. Ultimately, what defeats fear is trust. In the long run, the antidote, the squasher of fear is trust. It's trust, not even trust in God per se. It precedes any God conversation. It's trust that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. And one of the beauties of doing this work, of healing our own selves, of getting out all those other voices that cause us to distrust our own voice, that God-given voice, that voice of the universe speaking to us from within, that it's all those other voices that cause us to distrust that. And the more you get those other voices out, the more you can trust your own inner voice, because it's all those other voices that are saying, no, listen to me instead. Or are saying, no, you better listen to me instead, young lady or young man. Or what's your problem? Why aren't you just doing what I expect you to do? All of those voices are what are disconnecting you. And your fear is that if I don't meet their expectations, they won't like me. Or some derivative of that. All right, next question. Heather asks the question over on Facebook. I'm currently grieving the loving relationship I wanted but never had with my mother. Are there any questions you would recommend for my journaling to help me go deeper? Yeah. Question I would recommend that you ask is, what ultimately, above all else, is the one thing you are most wanting, have most wanted, and perhaps even still residually are still wanting from your mother? What is it? Is it acknowledgement of all she did to hurt you? Is it an apology for all she did? Is it just love? And if you say love, then what, in what form? What specifically are we talking about? Someone to go to, someone to talk with. Is it you're wanting her to accept you for who you are, approve of what you've done with your life? What are you really wanting? And then name that, write that down in your journaling. And then ask yourself, if I got that, then what would change either outside in how I live my life or inside of me in how I feel? What would it change? And likely your answer would be, well, then I would feel a little more sense of calm inside. Or then I'd feel like I didn't have to go trying to win people's approval. Or then I'd feel like I could finally relax. And then if you felt that, then what? What would change outside of you? Well, maybe your answer would be something along the lines of, and I only give these answers because these are the repetitive lines I've heard over and over as I've done this with other people, that as you go down and as you got that acknowledgement from mom or that acceptance, then I would feel a greater sense of peace. Well, then what? Well, then I wouldn't feel like I had to go trying to get love from other people. And if that happened, then what? Well, then I would feel like I could sort of start feeling happy about life and feeling good about myself. Well, then what? Well, then I'd feel like I could start going out and living my life my way and doing the things I want to do. Well, then what? Well, then I just feel lighter and freer in life. And then what? Well, I think if I felt freer, I'd finally have a sense of like peace in life. Okay. So for you to have a sense of free and peace and happy, you have to get your mother's approval first, or you have to get her acceptance, or you have to get her to acknowledge. So in other words, before you can even begin your life of living your life your way, before you can ever have a sense of calm, you have to get this special little thing from your mom. That's what you've been holding on to this whole time. That's why you've been wanting a relationship. That's why you've been holding on, saying to yourself, well, maybe somewhere deep inside of you thinking, maybe this is the day that she hugs me and says, you are my daughter in whom I am well pleased. I'm sorry for everything I've done to you. You've been holding out for that. So the question in going deeper is, what ultimately have you wanted? And then if I got that, then what? And then if I got that, what would change outside of me, or what would change inside of me? And another way to reverse engineer it is, what do I fear not getting if I let go of mom? And if I didn't get that, then what? Then what would I feel? And if I lost that, if I didn't get it, what would I fear happening next? And just keep going deeper. And then what? And then what? And eventually you'll get down to it and it'll feel like, oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck me. You know, where you have that epiphany shit. And then that's when shit starts to break free. That's when you start to feel lighter. That's when the fucking tumblers start to fall into place. And folks, if you are not having those epiphanies, if you are not getting lighter, because of your therapy, because of your self-work, it is because you are not going deeper. It is because you are not doing the work inside of yourself. It's because you don't want to touch this shit. And maybe you have a million reasons and a million excuses, and I'm not disparaging you for that, but it's because you don't want to touch it, maybe because it's too scary, too overwhelming, too whatever, but you're not wanting to touch this shit. But that's where your salvation is, so to speak. All right, next question. Angela, over on Facebook. Angela asked the question, I found out that my hubby of 30 years repeatedly cheated and also abused my little sister for several years when she was a teen many years ago. Heading into divorce, how do I not live in nonstop anger and hurt and want to seek vengeance, for lack of a better word? And how do I help my adult kids heal from all of this? Great questions, Angela. First and foremost, I just want to put in a plug. My most recent book, Cheating Sucks, just came out. The subtitle is When the Bomb Hits and Your Life Explodes. You can get it at badasscounseling.com, and it will help you sort out so much of this, all right? Because it's about the healing, not about what direction to take with your life. It's about how to heal you. And that's at badasscounseling.com. Cheating sucks. All right, so your first question is, heading into a divorce, and you said he repeatedly cheated and also abused my little sister for several years. Now, you don't say how abused your little sister. Now, I'm going to assume that he wasn't beating her, potentially verbally abusing her, but I think we're all sort of assuming that he sexually abused your teen sister. I don't think that's any grand reach that I'm taking there. So then we've got a larger problem, don't we? Because assuming she was underage, teen doesn't necessarily mean underage, but if she were underage, then we've got a legal issue, don't we, Angela? And if there's no statute of limitations, well, at the very least, you have to go to your sister. Although you likely found out from your little sister, and you've got to ask her if she wants to go public with it. And furthermore, even if she doesn't, you have to ask the question. And by public, I mean going to the law. Even if she doesn't, you've got to ask yourself the question, do you believe that you have a moral obligation? And that's a question only you can answer for you. Do you believe that you have a moral obligation to humanity and potential other young girls to take him legally public? Because he has a history, if she was in fact a minor. Because you only say she was a teen, which means she could have been 18 or 19, in which case no crime was committed. It's disgusting, and obviously it's cheating, and it's basically incest, but it's not necessarily illegal. But if it was illegal, then you have to ask yourself if you have a moral obligation to take it legal. So there's that, but that's not really the question you're asking. You're asking, heading into a divorce, how do I not live in nonstop anger and hurt? You're asking the wrong question, Angela. The question is not, how do I not live in nonstop anger and hurt? And I know what you mean by the question, but I'm answering it by saying that's not the question. The question is really that you should be asking is, how do I get the anger and hurt out of me? Because you could choose to not live in nonstop anger and hurt by just stuffing it all down and just putting on a sunny face. And we all know those people who just put on a sunny face, or who just power through and they don't think about their anger and their hurt, or they just don't think about their sadness, or they don't think about their disappointment, or whatever it is. What you do is you spend as much time as you have hours in the day free to do it, as often as you can, unleashing holy hell in your journaling and in writing letters you don't send. Even whether you go to a therapist or not is a separate issue. You should be writing fucking letters constantly to your ex that you do not send. You should be writing letters to your teen sister about your feelings you have regarding that situation. You should be writing letters to your children. And none of these should you be sending. But this is going to help you pour out feelings, and letters are easy to write. Don't send them. And you should be journaling about all your memories and all your thoughts and all your feelings on all of this. Nothing is going to help you flush out the emotional charges, decharge all of those memories that you have. All those memories are spinning around inside of you, and attached to each one of them are emotional charges: anger, sadness, rage, frustration, sorrow, all of them. So you've got all these things bouncing around, and all of those emotional charges are bumping into each other, and that's why you feel hopped up all the time. And until you decharge them by releasing, by getting them out actively, bringing up those feelings rather than trying to suppress them and push them down, by bringing up those feelings and actively flushing them out, facilitating their departure. Until you do that, they are still in you. And that's how you not live in nonstop anger and hurt. You say, and wanting to seek vengeance. That falls in the same food group as anger. And you say, and how do I help my adult kids heal from all of this? Fundamentally, you have two jobs now as it relates to your adult kids. Your first job is to get all of your shit out, okay? Out of you. Why? Because the more of your shit you get out of you, the greater capacity that vessel, that ewer, that urn is to take on their shit. Okay? And your kids, to the degree you can get them or coax them into therapy, fantastic. All right. They should be journaling. They should be writing letters that they don't send. Some people will, some people won't. Some people are open to a parent's direction and gentle nudgings. Some kids aren't. But at the very least, if you are doing the work to get your own crud out of you, decharging the emotional charges from your memories and from your experiences of your ex and all the crud inside of you, then you can act as, to some degree at least, if you so choose, there's no moral imperative here, this is strictly optional, you can act as their therapist to the degree you desire and to the degree you are able. You can be opening up the conversations without judgment, without intent to fix. You can, in isolated situations, not in public, not at fucking Easter dinner or Thanksgiving Day dinner, all right? But one-on-one. What's been the hardest part for you? What are you struggling with? What's the scariest part? Tell me more. Tell me how I've hurt you. I'm going to give you one more tip on this one, Angela, and that is go back to Christmas of this last year or the previous year. On both Christmases, I posted a video. I believe it was December 24th on each of those years. I posted a video where I'm sitting outside in a bomber jacket. There's snow on the ground, the title of the video is 7 Things You Can Do to Help Your Adult Child Heal. I want you to go through there, and I want you to go through that checklist and start doing some of the things on there. And a lot of it is about you taking responsibility for your share of the pain that you've caused them, and opening up to things you don't know of the pains that you've caused them, but being willing to own those things. All right, we're going to be right back with more questions right after this.
I had a really good start in my life, and I've been successful in my career, but I have to say I've learned so much and improved my outlook on life since I met Sven and picked up a copy of Badass Wisdom. With the daily meditations as journaling prompts, I've uncovered a lot of memories that weren't totally pleasant. With Sven's guidance, I've achieved some new understanding, and honestly, I feel lighter. Badass Wisdom is a great read, in nice small bites, and I think anyone can benefit from it. So go to badasscounseling.com and get the book or the audiobook. It could change your life.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with the Badass Counseling Show, lightning round, taking listener questions from around the world. And we've got folks in from Ringgold, Georgia, and from Daytona Beach, Florida, checking in. Great to have everyone here. Okay. I've got Julie asking the question on Facebook. Hi, wondering best way to navigate an extreme taker. I've got some people saying gray rock, some people saying no contact. I'm confused. When you say navigate an extreme taker, the mere fact that you're considering no contact, I'm assuming this means you're ending a relationship or trying to get away from. In all honesty, the best way is to just get away from a person. Have no contact or as little contact as possible. And when you do have contact, you hold your boundaries, and you hold your boundaries firmly. You hold them hard. All right? Don't let yourself get jerked around, and you do not have contact if contact is not absolutely necessary. If you are in a relationship with an extreme taker, that is or have been in a relationship with an extreme taker, you would not be able to be in a relationship with an extreme taker unless you were, to some degree, an extreme giver. The solution, the real long-term solution, not just with this person, but for all your future relationships, is you ultimately then have to solve your part of the equation inside of you. What is it that's been going on inside of me that has caused me to give so much at the expense of myself? What is it that has been going on inside of me that has caused me to tolerate an extreme taker in my life for such a period of time? Am I saying you are at fault for how you were treated? No, I'm not. You did not originate that person's treatment of you. However, one of the things that we do when we're working with victims is we not only help them get the pain out of them, but then teach them how to create and hold boundaries in the future. Well, a boundary is a statement of a no. And if I have to teach this person how to do it in the future, it means they weren't doing it in the past, which means they were allowing the transgression of boundaries. They were allowing someone to trespass onto their property and do damage. So if I'm having to teach you how to not let someone trespass and do damage, it means you were allowing them to do damage before. So you're not the cause of them doing damage to you, but you are allowing it, okay? And so the goal is to not allow anyone to do the work inside of you that is causing you to believe that you don't have the right to set and hold boundaries. That's where the real long-term solution happens. This one person is a zit on the ass of your life, all right? This relationship will end, but it doesn't solve your life long-term until you do the work inside of you, which is precisely why I wrote the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's why I wrote my the follow-up book, which is a 365-day follow-up book, and that's Badass Wisdom. And if you're dealing with a cheating situation, that's why I wrote the book Cheating Sucks. But the cornerstone of the work is There's a Hole in My Love Cup. All right, next question. Michelle Fitzer, on that very point, Michelle then says, this is a different person saying, I'm an empath who always picks men who need quote-unquote fixing. I read your books, all of them, and I'm currently working on me instead of relationships. Want to thank you for all your advice and wisdom. Thank you for saying so, Michelle. But just want to correct you on one thing. It's not the books. It's the person having the courage to do the work, and that's you. Okay, next question. Helena Pilar Bennett on Facebook says, do you believe unhealed trauma from your childhood can cause autoimmune diseases? I've recently been diagnosed with autoimmune diseases, and I've seen some people saying these things can trigger autoimmune and chronic illnesses. I'm going to be very honest with you, Helena. I am not a physician. I am not a medical researcher. I am not a person who can comment on that with any measure of expertise. I am a person who strives valiantly to stay in my lane, and my lane is soul counseling. However, I can tell you that there's been a fuck ton of research on this, especially since the 70s when they first started doing the significant research on the impacts of stress on the body. That's when some of the most significant studies, there were random studies before that, but that was when it first really started. You might want to look into the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Anyway, so I'm sorry I can't be more help on that one. Just want to be straight up with you on that one, though.
I can tell you for absolute fact that since my divorce, my back hurts a lot less.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Isn't that interesting? All right. Next question. As you may or may not know, I'm a former clergyman, former Lutheran pastor. Interestingly, I think my father was a Lutheran pastor for 65 years. My mother was a director of Christian education and also taught early childhood education at the largest Lutheran seminary in the world. 4 of my uncles were Lutheran pastors. One was a missionary in Ecuador for about 20 years, something like that. So occasionally I do take religious/spiritual questions, but I don't have a slant. I'm not selling God or anything like that. I steal from all religions, so I've got some good Zoroastrian wisdom, or if it fits, or Jainism, or what have you. I've got a question here from Quinn Wynn, who is an avid follower of Badass Counseling. And she asks, I'm looking for a home church. How do I know a church is right for me? That's a great question. On one hand, there are so many ways to answer that question. One, how does it feel? And two, how does it feel over time? Because there's a lot of, questions that have to be answered. It's like working with a therapist. It may feel good in the beginning, but you get, sort of 10 weeks down the road and you realize, what the fuck is this guy actually doing for me? Or is this therapist, does she actually ask me any deep questions? But, does the, I had a professor in seminary who said, a lot of people will engage in, what did he call it? Pick a theology, church shopping. And you can do that within any denomination of Christianity, from Catholic to Mormon to fucking non-denominational, which is a bullshit moniker. You can find any type of theology you want, because from parish to parish, it's going to be fucking different. So one, do their beliefs comply with or resonate with what you believe? Or are they at least in the ballpark? I used to like to kid my parishioners and say, I guarantee you set any husband or wife down with me in my office for 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes with each of them, or put them together with me for 20 minutes. And I guarantee I can find the differences in their theology in 20 minutes. So, and the truth is, in any parish, if you have more than one pastor, they even have differences in their own theology. So does the theology work? Do you like the people? Do you fit in? Do you even know what you believe? In your journaling, what do you fundamentally believe? You're going to church, so you're looking for some sort of spiritual community. Are you going for a spiritual community? Further your relationship with God? Do you know even if you believe in God? And it's okay not to. Plenty of great clergy people aren't even sure they believe in God. You know, when the Vatican released Mother Teresa's personal journals back in, 2000s, and it was discovered that she had a 20-year crisis of faith. I fucking love that. She was real. She was real, man. And so find a place where you fit, find a place that feels good. In my opinion, find a place where I can sing. I mean, I go to church to sing if I'm going. I like going where the preaching is good, where I walk out of there and I feel like the pastor, male, female, trans, non-binary, whatever the fuck, that this person just punched me in the face. You know, like they're like, holy fuck. You know, something that really challenges me, gives me some good meat to chew on. If you have children, do they have good, education program, good teachers, a good, deliberate education program? And what are they teaching? And does it resonate with who you are? Ultimately, it boils down to that. All right, next question.
That reminds me of the story of the guy who was shipwrecked on a remote island, and years later he was rescued, and the rescuer comes onto the island. He says, why are there two churches? Why did you build two churches? And he points to one. He says, that's the one I don't go to.
I love that. That's a great fucking story. That's the one I don't go to. Yeah, we all have to have something to rage against. Dad used to say, Dad was at the end of his career, he was a chaplain at the Veterans Hospital in Minneapolis, the same Veterans Hospital that Alex Preddy worked at. And Dad used to say, he'd always say, we all need something to complain about in life, even if it's just the hospital food. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next question. And the follow-up, Quinn says, finding the right church is just as hard as finding the right guy. The only difference is you have feels like you have more control when you're finding the right church. And usually, sometimes the music is better. All right, next question. This is from Gaia on TikTok. Oh, it just jumped on me. It says, I had a lot of anger towards my parents and brother growing up, but nowadays I just want to move on and pursue my dreams. Find my own? Not sure what the question is there. I had a lot of anger towards my parents and my brother growing up, but nowadays I just want to move on and pursue my dreams. You sort of say, actually, this person then goes on to say, I guess I realize I didn't really ask a question there. No, you didn't. You did say find my own with a question mark, but I don't really understand what the question is.
Sounds like the person was instructed on what they would want to do, and that caused them to be angry. And now they want to go off on their own idea.
Yeah, and also that they have the anger in there. So two things. Good catch, Rob. And that is you were instructed on what to do, and now I want to move on and pursue dreams. Yeah, and so that anger is what's going to stand in the way of you pursuing the dreams, because your anger inside of you is an indicator of your hurt, which means you have not fully processed the pain and the rage and all the feelings. And if those feelings are inside of you, that would be an indicator that likely their expectations of you, of what you should do with your life, is likely still inside of you as well, are likely still inside of you as well. And so it's your obligation to yourself that if you really want to pursue your dream and live your life your way, is you have to go inside of you and get out the pain that they cause by telling you that who you want to be isn't good enough or isn't allowed. And they did tell you that. By telling you what is expected, they're fundamentally demonizing what you wanted to do or be with your life. So you have to go inside, get out all the pain, get out all the anger that is likely still there. Because you said, but nowadays I just want to move on. I want to move on. The fact that you're not moving on yet, but I want to move on, says to some degree you're stuck. In other words, and you're almost seem to be saying, I just want to get past this anger. You don't get past it. You get it out of you. You bring it up and you get it out. Up and out. Up and out. Okay? And that's why we journal. And also you be wise to get the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Trust me on that one, all right? But you got to bring it up and get it out. And so, as Rob said, you were told what the expectations were. So one of the things you're going to encounter as you work through the book, or as you just do your own journaling, is that those expectations are going to slam in your face, and likely you feel guilt, likely you feel bad, likely you feel like you're not being the person you're supposed to be. And the more you journal on those, and the more you write letters to your parents and to your brother that you don't send, there's no need to send them. Because if you're sending it, you're still wanting something from them. You're wanting approval, which means they still have power over you. They have the power to make you miserable by saying no. All right? But the more you just write those letters and flush, the more you are getting their voices and their imperatives out of you, and you can begin to feel your own self and pursue your own dreams and have the strength to do so. All right, next question. Okay. Right. Tiffany Reynolds on TikTok says, "Hi, Sven. I'm finally taking the leap and divorcing my abusive husband." No question. That's awesome. Wonderful. Actually, Gaia, the person who talked about leaving the parents and so forth, says, "I guess a lot of it is just money. I can't afford to leave and find my own way out of this." I'm going to push back on that one. I know that we live in a hard economy right now. I do know that. And I know for younger people it is hard. I'm not disputing that, all right? So I'm not trying to take that away from you, but I'm going to push back anyway. And I'm going to push back with a phrase from one of my favorite authors that I first read when I was 19, a fellow by the name of Richard Bach. He flew F-4s in Vietnam. And Richard Bach, or was he? No, he was a Navy pilot. He wouldn't have flown F-4s. And Richard Bach, one of the things that he wrote was, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. And so I guess one of the things I remember, I was running a church in Ohio many, many years ago. And on my church council, I had about 6 or 7 engineers. One worked at the D-Max plant there in Dayton, and another worked for this, another worked for the government, another worked for that, etc. And I had one school teacher. And on that board of 7 or 8 people, I had 7 people who had the mentality, no matter what ideas I brought up, they had the mentality of, I wonder how we would do that. It was a possibility mentality. And I had one person who always said no. And the one person who always said no was not the school teacher. It was one of those engineers. But I grew to really love those engineers and that school teacher. There's something about the engineer's mentality that says, I wonder how we could do that. And you need to have that. You need to begin to, rather than say, I can't afford to leave and find my own way out and shucks, it's no good. You need to start to have that engineer, school teacher mentality of, I wonder how I could make that happen. A possibility mentality. I really mean that. And even if it means living cheaper, even if it means living with a roommate. I lived with a roommate for years, even in my 40s. Why? Because I wanted to, because I was hungry. And that's what I wanted. I wrote books and I worked 3 jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, it's time to begin living your dreams. Make it work. All right, next question. Someone's writing in here, 007.13 writing in, talking to an old friend is in quotes, talking to an old friend that I really want to sleep with. I'm married. Help me. Okay. First of all, it's not okay. Okay. The mere fact that you are, I'm just going to talk straight to you. Okay. You are a friend of the show and I love you. I care about you. You are a friend of the show. I'm going to talk straight to you and you know my show. So you obviously put it out there wanting me to talk straight to you. Well, it's fucked up and it's wrong and it's not okay. And the mere fact that you are wanting to sleep with someone outside of your marriage, I mean, having a passing thought of, hey, I wouldn't mind fucking, having sex with that person. Hey, passing thought, we've all had those, not the end of the world. But you actively are talking to that person. Okay? And by you putting old friend in quotes means it's not an old friend. It's more than that. And the talking is a segue to sleeping with that person. And if we're in counseling, I'd say, what is it you're really wanting in the sleeping with? Is it that you're wanting is it that you have just skin hunger and you're wanting the physical touch? Or is it you're wanting emotional intimacy? Are you looking for the next vine to grab onto to swing out of your marriage? What is it you're really wanting? And you need to be really fucking honest, because the mere fact you're wanting to sleep with someone and you are actively taking steps, and by the way, you need to be reading my book, Cheating sucks. You need to be reading my book, even though you're the one who is already cheating. Talking to an old friend, when you put friend in quotes, knowing you want to sleep with him, you are already engaging in precursor steps of cheating. And I'm not dogging you. I'm not putting you down because I've done it. All right. I'm the last motherfucker who can be judging anybody. You know that. All right. So there's no judgment. But the bottom line is you're saying, I don't want to be in this relationship. And if you claim you do want to be in this relationship, then you are in this relationship, but you are not confronting the real shit you want to say in this relationship. So we've got one of two problems. Either you're in the relationship, you want to be in the relationship, but you're not talking about the real problems, which means you need to grow some fucking balls, stand up and have the hard conversations, knowing you're going to eat shit and take flack and so forth. But at some point, you have to stand up and speak your truth of fixing this relationship, or you have to stand up and get the fuck out because it is not okay. I don't care how bad your partner is. You don't do this. And you know you don't do this. And I'm not trying to be a dick. You know that. But it's just like, you got to get out. And 007.13 follows up and says, I don't think I want to be in the relationship anymore. No, you know damn well you don't want to be in the relationship anymore. All right. So you want to do yourself a favor? Don't cheat first. Why? You lose any moral high ground. And at the very least, that moral high ground makes you feel good about yourself. Furthermore, they won't be able, your person you're in a marriage with right now can't go all fucking narcissist, fucking psycho on you in that way and say, and fucking use that against you. Take the active steps. And if this old friend you're talking about, if it's really as wonderful as you say, then it can fucking wait. Because if you had a kid, you would tell your kid, what, if they want to get married at 19, what would you tell them? Just wait, get married. Can't you wait a few years? And the kid be like, no, I want to get married right now. And I know this because I was 22 when I met the woman who I'd marry 3 months later at 23. And I was that. No matter what anybody said, can't you just wait? If it's real love, it'll wait a couple years. No, it can't wait. It has to be right now. Well, that's what you're doing, right? If it truly is a wonderful thing with this old friend, then it can wait. It can wait a year or 6 months till you end the fucking relationship. If it's an old friend, that means that Kindle, that little fucking spark has lasted this long. It can wait 6 more fucking months. Get the fucking divorce. You know you got to get it. All right? Just be honorable. Please be the person that the rest of us can be inspired by. We're all looking for someone to be inspired by, a point of light in the world, somebody doing the right thing. Be that person. We want to believe that there are people in the world ending relationships the right way. And I know you have it in you. You've already identified the problem, and that is, I don't want to be in this relationship. Now just be the person who ends it before they cheat. I love you. You know that. I know that. You know that. Just do the right thing. All right? Do your husband the courtesy, no matter how pissed you are, no matter how angry at him, no matter how much you hate him, whatever. Just do him the courtesy of ending it before you cheat. Or at least think about it, okay? All right. All right.
People listening to that and taking your advice will spare a hell of a lot of pain in the world.
Yeah. If we can reduce cheating, that would be a glorious thing, wouldn't you say, guys? I don't think we'll ever eliminate it, but boy, oh boy. And Julie Dossardy over on Facebook says, cheating sucks. I love it. And that's my book that just came out, Cheating Sucks. And I have a question here from Saw FZXF. What do you think about the concept of writing apologies on behalf of someone else? Like just you writing an apology letter to yourself from them. Oh, I love it. Fuck, I love that idea. And you know what I love the most about what you just wrote there? I love the fact that you are taking the idea of your own healing and you're playing with it. This is, guys, this is the shit I talk about. When you hear me talking about the seriousness of self-help and your own self-work, but making it play, this is the shit I'm talking about. This, you get a gold star for that. It's coming up with ideas. Well, what might feel good? Well, maybe I'll try this. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll go talk to my 80-year-old self. Maybe I'll try, I don't know, self-hypnosis. Maybe I wonder if eating more apples would impact how I feel when I'm journaling. I don't fucking know. Try it. Try it, man. I tried everything. Back when I was in my worst depression, you know, that one kind of depression, the worst kind. And back when I was in my 20s and my late teens and even in my 30s, I've tried everything. So if I'm recommending something, it's because I've tried it and I've used it. both on myself and on clients, and just play with it, because what works for me may not work for you. And you got to find those things that work for you. I fucking love that idea so much. That's so great. All right. Beautylicious asked the question, thoughts on dating as a single parent? I'm in favor of it. I am. I've done some posts where people have thought I'm against it. I'm not. I absolutely believe that you are not, no one is a parent. No one can be or should be a parent as their only role in life. I just don't believe that. You need to have other things that breathe life into your soul. And love, God, if the mere fact that you're saying, what do you think of dating as a single parent, says you want to date. Honor the callings of your soul. And the thing is, it's just finding that imbalanced balance of that it's never just in a static balance, that constant movement of honoring your fundamental role as the provider for your children, provider of love, nurturing, presence, guidance, a firm hand, and expectations and rules and warmth, all of that, and having this other thing that feeds your soul that you have every right to have for yourself, and that will enable you, if it progresses, to model for your children what a healthy relationship looks like. See, they can work together, but I'm all in favor of it if it's done well. And one of my courses on my website, I have a do-it-yourself video course on dating. There's another one on parenting and so forth. But yes, absolutely, as long as you are very deliberate in your exercising of that parenting as a single person. I'm going to take one more question.
Sven, what are your thoughts about adult children who stand in the way of their single parent dating, particularly when the other parent has died?
I think it's, on one hand, from that adult child's perspective, it's very understandable. It's very understandable. You're hurting. The adult child is hurting. I lost a parent, or mom and dad divorced, and I just can't bear the thoughts of anyone else being with my mom, anyone else being with my dad, whether the other parent is dead or still alive. But especially if they're dead, it just hurts. How could you replace dad so quickly? He passed away. How could you possibly do this? I feel like it's an insult to dad. So from the adult child's perspective, it's totally understandable. But from that parent's perspective, they are an autonomous entity. And that autonomous entity has a right to live their life their way. Now, I would think it would be reasonable to assume that that parent does not have the right to dictate who that adult child gets to date and have a relationship with, or when. Right. But what is required is that each person in that family is understanding of the perspective of the other person. The adult child needs to understand the perspective of the parent, that the parent has a right to have love, and that the parent has a right to do it at their own speed and grieve at their own speed, even if it's not my speed. And the parent has a right, but needs to understand the perspective of the child. That I do also need to show respect for my children and the fact that they still love and miss their father in this case, this hypothetical case we brought up. And that I need to be respectful of their feelings. That doesn't mean I have to live my life their way. They do not own me. I am not their puppet to control. But I do need to be respectful of their feelings as well. Well, what does that mean in terms of actions? It means that day to day, you sort it out day to day. And no one has a right to dictate another person's actions, but being respectful. When we are dealing in family, diplomacy is required, especially as our children age, and especially as our parents age, and especially as we get in-laws into the equation. And kindness is required, and perspective is required more and more. Those are my thoughts on that.
Good on you.
All right, I'm going to take one last question. Rachel on Facebook asked this question. Mom's got stage 4 cancer. Wants me to be power of attorney. I'm afraid my family will not like this decision because I don't live close, 3 hours away. Any advice? Rachel, if you and I were in session together, I would ask you the question, and I would tell you in advance, there's no expectation of action. I'm not pushing you to act on what I'm about to ask you. All right? This is just between you and me. And I always tell my clients when I'm working with clients, we exist, you and I, client, in a black box. No one will ever know what you and I discuss. So if you choose to act on it, not act on it, what you do the second you walk out my office door, hey, I support you 100%. As long as you aren't flashing children in the park or having sex with goats, I really don't give a fuck. All right? And so, Rachel, there's no expectation of action. You ask, I'm afraid my family will not like it if mom makes me power of attorney because I don't live close, 3 hours away. Any advice? My question is, what do you want to do in this case? Not what do you want to have happen. Not what do you hope people will think or feel. My question is, what do you want to do in terms of your actions? What you want to say or what you want to do. What is it? Write it down on paper in one sentence or less. And I'll bet you can actually put it into one sentence, can't you? I'm betting it's either A, I want to do it, but I'm afraid of what my family will think, or B, I don't want to touch it because I don't want to deal with the family bullshit. All right. And then if you said it's kind of both, then I would ask you, let's put it in percentages. What percent do you want the job, knowing your family might get pissed? And what percent do you not want the job? Is it 70-30? Is it 30-70? What is it? And then the question is, once it's clear, and you can't say 50-50. On my show, nobody gets to say 50-50 for anything. It's such a fucking wishy-washy bullshit answer. Take a stand, all right? And then once you see what your answer is on that, then my question is, so what are you going to do? Or I would ask you, what is your biggest fear that keeps you from doing what you most want to do? Well, I'm afraid of what my family will think. Or I'm afraid of disappointing my mom. See, what you're losing in this, you're telling me how loud your mom's voice is. You're telling me how loud your family's voice is, but I want to know what your voice is saying. And when do you have the balls to just fucking be you and let the chips fall where they will? Yeah, if your family's pissed at you, fine, they're going to be pissed. But if they love you, they'll understand. And it's just like, if you want to help mom out because this is what she wants and you want to honor her. And what would you feel, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, what will feel like the right answer? Is it, gee, this could split the family apart, so I'm going to say no to moms to keep the family together? Or is it, no, I want to honor my mom's dying wish, or I just want to do this for myself, or what is it? But you got to define what the fuck you want. And then you got to ask yourself if you have the courage to follow through on what the fuck you want. In the end, it doesn't matter what feels right to mom or what feels right to your family, what feels right to you, because that is the calling of your own soul. And you have a responsibility to honor the calling of your soul. Rachel, you're going to do great. Trust yourself. All right, folks, this has been another lightning round episode of the Badass Counseling Show. So many questions that came in and so many more that came in at the end. I wish I could stay and answer them all. Rob, any final thoughts today?
Yeah, when you say just talk to your 80-year-old self, I have a problem with that because that's almost like talking to myself, and I don't want to talk to myself.
But it's a few years older than you.
Yeah, not very many.
Okay, so
go ahead.
I got your joke. I like that.
Make fun of my existential dread.
No. I was actually going to ask you. I was actually going to ask you this. You went through a divorce. A year ago, you were going through the divorce.
Couple of years.
Yeah. Wouldn't it have been nice to talk to your 80-year-old self who would have only been like 5 years older than you or 6 or 8 years older than you? Wouldn't it have been nice to know from your 80-year-old self how the story turns out?
If my 80-year-old self then knows what my almost 80-year-old self knows now?
Well, obviously it would. Ding-a-ling. Of course.
All right. You got me.
That old trickery. All right, folks, this has been another great episode of the lightning round of the Badass Counseling Show. Thanks for all your questions, guys. Yeah, so many interesting ones and some brand new ones that we've never had on the show before, so that was kind of fun. Well, thank you so much on behalf of my team, KC, who is giving us a salute, and on behalf of Rob, I want to say thank you to all of you listening in around the world. This has been a great episode. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.